What you got for breakfast?
I made myself like a parfait,
Yogurt.
and we had strawberries and granola.
We had some fried rice from a Chinese food dinner a couple of nights ago that was in there.
Hmm.
So I grabbed some of that. And we have some bruschetta that I bought a big container of bruschetta that we've been kind of using in different things. Um, and so I put a little bit of that in with the rice in a pan and then fried an egg up with it. So it was kind of interesting. See, I'm the one that uses the leftovers. Get a little creative, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing is you kind of have to because you don't really often have enough for the original meal. You kind of have to figure out what to do with it in like a new meal. So last night I tried something new and I made salmon with just a glaze. There was lots of things in the glaze, but
Just a
um
glaze, she says. Just a glaze.
well,
Glazes
I
are
mean, it
together.
wasn't that hard. What?
Glazes can be hard to put together.
Oh, I really it was butter, garlic, some red pepper flakes, maple syrup, soy sauce, lime juice, and then you add in a teaspoon of or like you mix together a teaspoon of cornstarch and a teaspoon of water, and then you put that in to help it like thicken, and then away you go.
Yeah, that sounds complicated to me.
Oh, it was not. Um,
Yeah,
but I did that. Pardon?
the other night I was making chicken and we wanted to use some of this bruschetta, so I looked up recipes for bruschetta chicken. Really easy. You fry up the chicken with a little bit of salt on it, a little bit of Italian seasoning on it, and then put the bruschetta on top. But then they had this glaze as well that made it look amazing. But I'm like, yeah, I'm not making that glaze.
So you just gotta try.
Did you know you can use bruschetta instead of pasta sauce?
Oh,
Yeah, Mom made
yummy.
tortellini last night with some frozen tortellini, and then just put the bruschetta in with it. It was cool. Yeah, actually
Ooh,
quite good.
yeah, that sounds yummy.
So the big tub of bruschetta we didn't waste.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I often find myself in a situation where I have to figure out how to make a pasta sauce because we don't have any. But I've made the pasta, so I'm like, I need something.
Did you get the pasta sauce out before you start making the pasta?
Yeah.
Or do you mean you've actually made the pasta like from scratch?
No, no, no. No, like I'll make pasta. It'll be ready to go. And like halfway through, basically, I'll be like, oh, wait a second. I don't have any sauce. And then just like put together some tomato paste and different seasonings and chunks of tomato and just onions and some other stuff.
We made
Yeah.
pizzas a while ago, and we had no pasta sauce. And when you put spaghetti sauce on, it works, but it's always so thin, like it's runny. So I
Hmm.
I found a can of whole tomatoes, and I drained them, and then I put them in the blender and blended it all up, and then drained it again and again and again, and then I put it on to cook and boiled it until it was drier, and I put some cornstarch in that as well, actually, to try and thicken it up. But it actually wasn't bad.
Mm.
Didn't have a lot of seasoning to it, but that's okay because there was lots of other stuff on the
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah, that's the tricky part is like when you're making your own sort of like pasta sauce, pizza sauce, like it's really hard to get a flavor stronger than the tomato sauce.
Well, just straight tomatoes wasn't that strong, so maybe it's all the spices that are
Yeah.
in the tomato sauce that give it all that flavor.
Mm. Yeah.
This is why I make bread.
Sounds yummy.
It's bread is simple. There's not that much to it. you know.
Oh, I should send you pictures. Caitlin and I made bagels. We made we had everything bagel seasoning, and then when we ran out of that, we decided to just use some rosemary and some salt on them. They're so good.
See, you got real fancy there. I mean, I make bagels too, but I don't get that fancy. I don't have any
I
spices in them. I do put cheese in them sometimes.
cheese bagels are good.
Just grate up the cheese, and when you're mixing the bagel, you just mix it right on in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really hard to so we did like Montreal style bagels. And I don't know, trying to get them into the right shape was quite difficult.
Yeah, that's the hardest
but it
part.
was fun.
I've
And
gotten I roll out the dough into like a tube, and then I'll just slice it,
mm,
and then you still kind of work it a little bit, but then you're already starting with something round, and as long as you don't play with it too much, then you can poke the hole through the middle, and it comes out pretty nice.
yeah, we definitely just ended up doing that. We were cutting them into like we all made them we were trying to make them even sizes. So Caitlin was measuring them out while I was like starting to play with them, but I think our dough was a little too sticky. We definitely like along the way learned different things and like tweaked it so that the end batch was like pretty good. The first batch, I think we took it out of the water too fast or too quickly. And then they just like fell apart.
Mm.
They weren't like,
Wow,
yeah.
crumble bagels.
Yeah.
I've never
But
had one.
then after the first couple
They come if they're rolled badly, so that it's not actually all one piece and they're kind of stuck together, it'll come apart. But I've never had one fall apart.
oh no, we like they were pretty we did a pretty good job, I think, of connecting them because we did just end up like poking a hole through the middle. Um, but yeah, when we were taking it out of the water, but we did have a little bit of an accident originally where Caitlin thought that she forgot that she couldn't put her like ceramic Dutch oven on the stovetop, and she was gonna take Toby outside, and I was watching there was just a mixture of water and honey in the
Mhm.
water, and we were waiting for it to boil, and then it just exploded.
Oh no!
And I was like, Caitlin, I just started panicking. I was like, what do I do?
Was there a lot of water in it?
There was like a decent amount of water in it, but thankfully, like it stayed together. It just like burst and like cracked, and so the water was like coming out through it, and so Caitlin like ran over and was like scooping the water out, but it was just all over the floor, and that was the last of our honey. And we were supposed to use honey in the water mixture,
Yeah,
so we just used maple syrup instead.
that
Um,
made it taste good too.
yeah. It was so scary though. Yeah, I think the recipe just like because we had to add like a lot more flour than the recipe called for because our dough was way too sticky. And then just timing wise for the bagels in the pot, it was like 1 minute on both sides. And we found that wasn't enough. So we did 2 minutes one side and then 1 minute the other side. And we found that was the best.
I don't have them in the water for very long. They puff up a
No.
lot and they're out like right away. Then coat them in egg, right?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking though, as we
Oh
talk,
no, we did it.
I could totally once the egg's on there, I could totally take that and dip it in like the sesame seed or whatever.
Oh, before you boil it?
No, so after it's boiled, it goes back on the pan and then it's coated in egg, right? But I'm saying I
Yes,
could take
yeah.
that then and then dunk it in the seed so it'll stick to the egg and put it back to bake, right?
Yes, yeah. So that's what we were doing with the everything bagels. But what we did not think about was you're taking the wet bagel and putting it in a plate of seeds to like coat it. Well, all the surrounding seeds get wet and stick together, and then they don't go on to the next bagel very well.
Hmm. But better to
So we
sprinkle.
ended up just, yeah, we ended up just sprinkling um,
Yeah,
it
true.
on there, but that's how we ran out of everything bagel mixture. But yeah, our recipe didn't call for like an egg glaze to
Yeah.
to
It
put egg
browns
on
the
it.
top of the bagel a little bit nicer, that's all.
Yeah, ours was pretty brown. I think the time was also off. We had to shorten the time that it was in the oven.
Our oven is weird. It'll say it's at temperature, but it's not really at temperature. I think the thermostat is at temperature, but the whole oven isn't. You have to kind of leave the oven a little bit
Mm.
longer to get the whole thing up to temperature.
Hmm, it's frustrating.
Ah, well, it's okay though. You just got to remember to start it a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
And we cook a
I
lot of
still
stuff.
love the.
If we don't have very big things now, we just cook it in the toaster ovens.
Mm.